Hi, welcome to MG Life Hacks. Today I wanted to go over what it is that I'm doing for work. I feel like work is a largely unexplored topic, even within the Myasthenia Gravis community. For anybody that's new to this or just kind of running across this, I am a Myasthenia Gravis patient. I have generalized Myasthenia Gravis, which means I have all over symptoms. I know everybody's a little bit different. That's just mine. Diving in, what I do is a desk job. I would definitely recommend it for anybody who's able to do that. And I say able to do that because when I was first diagnosed, I had already been in my profession. I've been in the profession, let's just say over a decade, almost two. So very familiar with the work and the ins and outs and computer work and things like that. It has a large percent of it is based on math and deductive reasoning. It's different when you're trying to navigate through a new illness or a new chronic illness. Even having been in the profession that I'm currently in, when I was first diagnosed, I was freaking out because the brain fog that comes with this is real. It's strong, especially when your antibodies are really high. Ooh, it was definitely alarming because all of a sudden the things that I've been doing that are just, super easy and just come to me weren't any longer. That's scary, especially when your income and your healthcare depend on your ability to work. I had wondered, is that knowledge ever going to come back? Am I going to be stuck trying to navigate through this like somebody that's just going through training, trying to retain new information? In terms of training, was incredibly difficult, almost impossible for me at that point. Once I started to get symptoms under control with the help of my neurologist who specializes in neuromuscular diseases, that's when things started to come back and the brain fog started to dissipate. Not quite to the degree that I had hoped, like symptom-free, but better, much better. So in order to get through that initial hump and, symptom outset, what I also noticed was a challenge with my ability to train other people, which is also part of my work. I have to train other people, and that the turnover at that time at the place I work was really intense. It was very high. And training it didn't have to be in person, thankfully, but even with it being fully remote, because it was still during COVID, still difficult because speaking was hard. Breathing at times was difficult because the antibodies were high. So I would be in the middle of trying to present something and I would have to take a minute to catch my breath. And, I was very open with my diagnosis because at that point it was very visible. Like sides of my face were starting to do things until medication would get balanced out. So never apologize for the symptoms of your illness, or if you feel compelled to. I feel like corporate language is a slightly different language. And the way you communicate that to other people is, just to let you know, if you're comfortable doing this, just to let you know, I have myasthenia gravis, which means that there are different muscle groups that are just out of alignment with what I want to do and what my body will allow me to do. And part of that, you might see, my face sag a little bit. That's perfectly normal. I'm okay. I might need to take a brief break here and there just to kind of manage my illness. So, we can always come back and go over whatever question it is in just a few minutes. Stuff like that. You can absolutely do stuff like that. the key is to try and find an employer that's willing to do that. I had already been at my position at that job for several years at that point, so I was very comfortable telling them, hey, not all the particulars. I mean, there are some things that you keep to yourself, but it was enough to say, hey, I need an accommodation. I need a 40-hour work week. This is what my doctor says that I can do and the conditions that I need to work in. I need a 40-hour work week, and I need my performance to be evaluated at that 40-hour work week workload. And I need metrics to also, align with that. So that way I'm not getting bombarded and overworked and overwhelmed. Unfortunately, at that time, I also got, shortly after being diagnosed and working through that and trying to navigate the illness and trying to organize things and get different chunks of brain fog out of the way so I could perform my job and do the things. My employer at that time did come to me and say, hey, what a great opportunity. We're giving you more work with no title change and no compensation change. What a great opportunity for you. Here you go. So I dealt with that for 2 weeks. I gave it 2 weeks so I could sit on it, think about it, try not to stress about it, because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to throw that opportunity in with everything else. So that's when I reached out to my doctor and had a discussion that was, how am I going to work with this? I have a desk job, so I can, do different things with different supports. You're going to need to evaluate how you will be able to work. It will be different. But it's just a different way of working. Sometimes it's flex time. Like if you can't work 8 hours in one shot and you can do it fully remotely and you're able to do a type of work that can be measured. And with an analyst role, it's a little bit of a gray area, but you can ballpark, okay, this is how much time it takes to do task X or Y, and take that into consideration. But also be aware of the fact that stress impacts this illness almost immediately for me. It's pretty instantaneous. And it also depends on the type of stress. What helped me keep perspective with my job and the status and my employer was focusing on my health. And that's not easy to do when you're at risk of having your health care taken away because you're worried about getting laid off. So I had to put a lot of faith in my ability to potentially find another employer if I needed to, because I wanted to get rid of this opportunity and politely and diplomatically pass, because that's how it was presented to me. I took a hard look at it. I had, some of my support folks, friends, loved ones, can you look at this? What do you think of this? Is it just me, or, this is not a good time for this opportunity. So I took time to consider it and met back with my boss and my boss's boss and said, thank you so much for considering me for this opportunity. I appreciate how much trust you've placed in me to accomplish this. Unfortunately, it's just not a good time for me personally right now, because as you know, as I've communicated, I do have a serious illness that I need to focus on managing at this time. And that is going to take priority. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you for your consideration. I do need to move back to my previous workload. I also need to discuss some accommodations with you. And after meeting with my doctor, this is what my doctor recommended. In order for me to work, I need a 40-hour work week, etc., etc. I also asked at that time for some flexibility with training, just with, staggered training instead of it being 3 hours, 4 hours. Hey, let's try 1 hour if I can make it. I really was not sure if I could make it. Gave it a shot anyway. I could do it. I could do it for an hour, and then I would need 30 minutes to just do the regular things that I do that do not involve speaking, because speaking was really, really, really difficult at that point. You have all kinds of options that are available to you in terms of accommodations. It just depends on the state that you work in, your employer. There is the Family Medical Leave Act in case you need to go on leave, if you've been with your employer for a year. There is some flexibility that some employers will have. Unfortunately, discrimination is a real thing. I've experienced that as well, and I hope you do not experience it. However, basically just try and find a way to roll with the punches as best you can. And I know the pressure is intense, and I know this illness is very scary at times, especially when stress is involved, especially when you have healthcare and prescriptions at risk. You are not alone. You do have resources. There are lots and lots. Part of the reason that I created this channel is just so I can share my experience, because I'm hoping that it will help others. You probably won't find a lot of myasthenia gravis patients like myself, because it is a very restrictive illness to try and manage and live with. I would love to edit my videos. I cannot. My eyesight and my ability to work at my computer, it takes everything out of me for the day to put that 8-hour chunk in. Everything. My eyesight goes because I'm looking at Excel spreadsheets and all kinds of scribbles all day. I don't have much left for myself after my work is complete. I have enough to look at a couple recipes for my family to make meals and stuff like that, but it's really, really limited. It's really limited. And what I also like to do is balance out the work with some, hobbies and fun things like that. And since I know my eyesight is very limited and I have, like a stopwatch, I can hear a clock ticking when work ends until my eyesight decides to completely bail and I get double vision and things like that at the end of the day. But that is my experience. I will try and come up with some more ideas on how to work with myasthenia gravis. It does involve working differently in terms of logistics, like where I place my arms and the type of chair that I have for work and the different muscle groups that I have that are working for me to help, hold my head up. It matters. It matters a great deal. But I hope this helps you out, and I will make more stuff. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Take care.